So big thank you to our sponsors, the Writers Union of Canada, the League of Canadian Poets, Access Copyright, and the Capital Region District. And I've been saying that recently that you'll probably notice there is no BC Arts Council or Canada Council at the moment in our sponsors list. But in place of them, I want to thank everybody who's made donations. There have been so many donations that have come in, people who've sponsored poets, businesses that have sponsored poets, and we're just so, so grateful. We can't run this season without you, and thank you so much. We also want to thank Russell Books for offering us Book Palooza to read in every single week. Thank you, Russell Books. And you might know, if you don't, we open the staff washrooms just for the Planet of Poetry reading. It's in that corner, but downstairs. Please don't use the escalators during the reading. There's an elevator in the back corner, and we will turn these on in the break and after the reading. And I'm talking very fast, so I want to get to the reading. We have like 17 people reading. So it's going to be pretty amazing. And anything else that's housekeeping? No. Okay. So Planet Earth Poetry is literally run on the volunteer energy of 24, 25 people. Ken's waving the tickets at me. Did anyone not get a ticket?
Does everybody have a ticket to the draw for later today?
We're doing a draw. We're doing 3 draws. Oh, better get a ticket over here. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken, for reminding me. And you're going to have a program. I'm sure Ken would also pass you a program. I'm not going to be reading bios tonight, and we're going to instead listen to actual poetry. And all of the bios can be found, like the full bios can be found on our website, and you can scan the QR code and follow the link to the website for all the full bios. And there's a little partial bio of everybody in here. So as the poets come up in alphabetical order, you can read their bios yourself, but preferably not while they're reading their own poems. And so, yeah, we are so grateful. I am so grateful for the bees. The bees are the little loving term we give to the Planet Earth Poetry volunteers. And I'm also grateful for the board, we have a board of directors, and incredibly grateful for the alternate hosts that come up and give me a break from speaking to you all, give you a rest from me. So we couldn't run the series without them. This is such an enormous ship, people. Honestly, it is massive. And the bees do everything from social media to little free library that we have managing it, to another reading we have in New Horizons in James Bay, to event setup. I mean, it just keeps going. There is so much. Our master classes and our online writing practices, and yeah, it's incredible. And we also have Anna as an intern. She'll be our first reader. And Anna has been doing a lot, and so we should give her a very special welcome. And she's going to come up and read first. You've probably been doing things first all your life.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're used to it. This is great. But let's really celebrate Anna, because she's been doing a big chunk of all sorts of things, and including hosting in New Horizons for the first time. I'm not going to say this to everybody else. Everybody else is just going to be, this is your name and come and read. But Anna has just been amazing. I'm so grateful for her. Please welcome Anna Cavouras.
It's just alphabetical superiority. Okay, this poem is titled Avalanche Safety Manual, and it's a response poem, which is still in development, so be gentle, to Kim Trainor's book, A Blueprint for Survival. The book is really hard to take apart, but this epigraph is from the section titled Seeds. Trying to see again all the little things and what I can't see. Avalanche Safety Manual. Section 1. Observational guidelines in backcountry terrain. This poem belongs on a shelf. Encyclopedias, Britannica or otherwise, dictionaries that only define clouds as those in the sky, phone books. This poem belongs with them. Going out of date faster than I can write it. Truths today, fiction tomorrow, sorrow, all the rest. Section 2. Snow profile procedures. Snow is slipping through our fingers. A quiet climate loss. Cold on retreat, taking with it everything we know as north. I didn't know it was the last day you would ever sit in my lap. And I don't know when you will reach for my hand and for the first time change your mind, only to leave me yearning so deeply that I will feel the ghost of your fingers slipping through mine. Snow is the same. Never knowing which winter will be the last, a steady reduction in snowpack followed someday by a collective yearning for cold. I won't take my kids skiing. I told them it's the cost, the driving, the gear. The only part of the truth I can say out loud. I long to protect them from this heartbreak. Love green instead, or better yet, brown. Black diamond, blue square, green triangle. How do I rank the levels of an apocalypse? Greens are gone, blues turning black, signs ignored, cliffs ahead, rocks certain. The shallow creek looks frozen, and it's not. Falling in won't kill you, but the wet boots might. Let me protect you from this one thing. Here's everything I know, nowhere near enough. The manual will not be written in time. The shallow creek looks frozen, and it's not. Falling in won't kill you, but the wet boots might. Section 3, Rescue Protocol. Crack this poem open, breathe it in, already as dusty as the rest, shove over dictionaries. Editions that don't have the words fire NATO or atmospheric river. Make space atlases printed in 1949. Those other books didn't know how irrelevant they would become, but this poem does. This poem belongs with them. On a shelf, best before and bad after. Section 4, Technical Aspects of Avalanche Risk Management. The first house you lived in was over 100 years old and the windows didn't meet the seams of its sash. Wind came and went at its leisure, your crib tucked into the front hall closet, sweaters 10 months out of 12. Summer brought that house to life. Sunlight snuck in, revealing cracks that the wind liked. Sun puddles pooling on the floor. Heavy windows, swollen from moisture, finally released to fully welcome the wind. The bedroom one, propped open, the massive dictionary found in our back lane. Maybe you can use this poem for something like that, to hold something up when your arms are weary and worn, or to call back a memory as deep as watching you chase light beams all throughout that old house. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, and it's going to be like that all night because we have so many amazing poets. Okay, next up, please welcome Lorne Daniel. Welcome, Lorne.
Thanks, Kyeren. It's an honor to be here. And just real special thanks to Kyeren. Those of us, most of us here are volunteers in some way, and we see what happens behind the scenes. And herding cats is a good metaphor for something like today, trying to get 17 poets and all these volunteers organized. So very much appreciated. I'm going to read a poem, just a short-ish poem from a few years back. The triggering incidents in this poem were from late 2016. But it's a poem about grief, and grief is always current, right? Poets always. And those triggering incidents, I was looking at this poem, there's some parallels to what we're going through today, because one of them was an election in the fall of 2016 that I wasn't too keen about, and we had an election this past fall too. So this was published as one of the Poem in Your Pocket poems. If you're not familiar with it, the League of Poets does these. They're kind of cool every year. Call just went out, I think, for the current year, a little postcard, and it got accepted into that. So it was published by the League of Poets in 2019. It took a few years, as most poems do, to get that far along. But having said that, on the book table here, there's some free copies of the postcard if you want to pick up the poem afterwards and read it and mail it off to someone who appreciates poetry. That would be great. Crushed. The bad news this week, relentless, rolling past my glazed face. Addictions, elections, deaths of the wrong people, hypnotic grief. Dazed at the roadside today, I breathe hot exhaust. Blurred tires hiss, rut and groove the gray just a step away. Over. On the shoulder, waiting for a break, me and this sleek crow, its cape tucked and trim. Light disappears or plays iridescent depending on the moment, the angles between us. What impresses me as a semi blows by, buffeting us, is, yes, that unruffled coat, but too the shining absence of concern. Unblinking, legs spring-loaded, ready to jump out to some small grain, fresh crushed and nourishing.
So gorgeous, Lorne, thank you. And there are actually postcards that he's got there, so you have to rush at the end to get one. Like his elbows. Okay, next up, please welcome Zoe Dickinson, our Artistic Director Emerita.
Hello. So I'm going to take this opportunity to read an excerpt from a very long poem that I'm working on that is organized kind of like field notes. So this is basically all of January. Rising tide, 1.99 meters. Moon, first quarter. Water slides in, colorless as the pre-dawn sky, colorless as a habitual thought, unexamined, rising. Rising tide, 2.8 meters. Moon, waxing gibbous, 88%. I can't stop talking about the weather. Today, 2 storms anchor the sky like paperweights, one east, one west. High tide, 2.7 meters. Moon, waning gibbous, 91%. A dark wing of cloud unfurls, storm gray and curved as a gull's. Perhaps it is a gull. Perhaps a massive bird will rise in the east instead of the sun, continent-sized wings cupping wind. Falling tide, 2.4 meters. Moon, waning gibbous, 77%. The sea is another sun, fallen star hammered flat, still radiating heat. Fierce shield, impossible to gaze upon with mortal eyes. Frost lingers on the bluff until noon, crouched in the fence's lanky shadow. Low tide, 1.2 meters. Moon, waning crescent, 41%. Ducks leave a trail like skipped stones as they lift off from flat water. Falling tide, 2.8 meters. Moon, waning crescent, 23%. Sleep deprived and aching, I feel singled out by the gull's sarcastic, ha ha ha. Rising tide, 2.8 meters. Moon, waning crescent, 4%. Frost makes each blade of grass distinct, but fuses tide-tumbled stones, transforms shifting pebble heaps into pliable carpet, a brief stability underfoot until the sun rises. Falling tide, 2.53 meters. Moon, waning crescent, 2%. After 15 days without rain, driftwood looks paler, a scatter of dry bones on the shore. Falling tide, 4.46 meters. Moon, waxing crescent, 7%. The whole world is underwater. Tiny drops of rain dimple waves. Each drop causes its own capillary wave on the swell's temporary surface. After several minutes, the sound of surf unlocks my tears. Thanks.
So gorgeous. I love this work. I'm so happy that you're doing this. Okay, next up, Wendy Donawa. Please welcome Wendy.
Thank you, Kyeren. The Time of Falling Apart. It's the title of this poem, and it's also the title of my new book coming out at the end of September. The Time of Falling Apart. I'm a dragon woman, born in a dragon year, and by the zodiac's account, I should be tenacious, confident, powerful, generous, lucky too. Should marry rat, monkey, or rooster. Sadly, this year's zodiac is less optimistic. I am opposed by Tai Sui, god of age, who foresees an overall lack of good luck. The outlook for my health is also unfortunate as I approach the time of falling apart. Some of my losses are careless rather than tragic. I lose my glasses before finding them on my head and have lost enough hearing to embarrass myself regularly. But what other deserters have left my memory palace? What of my keys, grocery lists, important dates, the name of that nice woman in the blue shirt, the best way through East Van, my favorite socks? Self-pruning, fruit reduces its pull force, so it falls away easily. Energy's no longer required. How is it that I, who careened merrily across 2 provinces, 3 mountain ranges to meet my lover, now avoid night driving and parallel parking? In pools of crystallizing snow, these sodden Gary oak leaves, I'm drawn to winter branches, their spareness and latency. If you look up past the oak's roots, up its gnarled bark corrugations, its lichen armor, past its branches' baroque skew, stub of an amputated limb in its cozy sleeve of moss, past a fretwork of twigs, you might fall up into the sky. Frilly white barnacles of lichen, burying my hands in mossy ruffles. I remember running my fingers through my son's springy hair. I flatline to think of it. The year's nights draw in, and veins of leaves close like blocked arteries, their barrier of thin-walled cells whose purpose it is to break down in autumn as it approaches the time of falling apart, as it invites abscission, the separation of stem from leaf, of horn from scowl, of claw, husk, and from those who renew themselves seasonally. Salamanders shed body parts to shun predation, or those who'd rather sacrifice a breast than yield it prey to a malignancy. Some years ago, in Cowichan Valley, a Quatsan elder, master carver, explained near final stages of a pole he'd made. Power, its carved and somber range of mythic predators. Before we left, he asked quietly, "What is your predator?" Before we left, we held hands. He said a prayer. I just had my diagnosis 2 days before. The oak's twiggy black canopy engraves a wintry sky, all glossy reflections over the inlet's glossy mirror, where doubled ducks confer cordially over the long V's of their contrails.
Wow, hey? Thank you, Wendy. Amazing. And Anne is not here today, sadly, but we will welcome Nancy Issenman. Welcome, Nancy. Am I always saying your name wrong? Is it Eisenman or Issenman? Eisenman. After all this time, I got it right.
Oh, it's one of these days with the mic.
Yeah.
Okay,
You good?
that's good, I think. I've got 3 poems to read, but I don't know if we'll have time. The first one's short. It's called In My Garden, after On the River's Edge by Phil Hay. I want to talk about things I love. The way my ambrosia apple trees bend to the wind. How alyssum, with its purple and white stars, hugs the edges, then reaches into the gravel path. Rhubarb leaves like elephant ears in the strawberry patch. White nubs left after the ripest raspberries drop. The smoke bush billowing its amber clusters, as if to say how simple things can be. Blueberries, now absent, will return next season and paint my grandson's lips deep indigo. And this one's called Credo, after Meg Carney, her poem titled Creed. I believe in trains, in idly watching prairie grass pass for hours. I used to believe lazy meant lying on the couch mid-afternoon, absorbed in a classic novel like The Great Gatsby. I don't believe that anymore. I don't even believe in love. I believe I blew all my chances. I believe in dogs, in elephants and sloths, not in cages. I don't believe in clowns, their fake smiles and overzealous horns. I believe we should laugh until bladders burst, like when my best friend and I walked home from school in the rain. Waters mixing. I believe in mixed metaphors. I believe in grief as prayer. I believe in mycorrhizal networks. Sorry, I always trip up on that word. My mycorrhizal networks will save our world, that dried crickets might taste okay. Have you heard about the butterfly effect? I believe in it. Look it up. I believe the Dalai Lama when he says, my religion is kindness. I believe in underground railways, in Jews being hidden, children pulled from rubble, in the goodness of people. I don't believe in bombs or guns, knives or nooses. I believe there are too many who do. Even one is too many. I believe in rain, torrents, mist, thunderstorms. I believe in trees. When I lean my cheek against rough bark, I believe I am praying. Thank you.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much, Nancy. Please welcome Sharon Lee. Welcome, Sharon.
Hello. I have 3 poems to read tonight. They are short poems and will be read within 4 minutes time. They are not titled.
Okay, deep breaths.
Poem 1. Still, ways in which I have been wronged surge through my body in pulses, heat, indignation. It comes in spurts, when looking at snow-capped mountains, when crossing roads to pink petals, the bitterness bites the beauty. I am transported from present to past, to ugly faces, to fear disguised as manipulation, to ineptitude compensated by taking power off the backs of those perceived lesser than. How do I move on? Step 1, I am told, seek compassion. Exchange self-righteousness, self-pity, self-centeredness for a glimpse into another's world, a taking of understanding, seeing the innate vulnerability that drives us to build hard walls, to inflict hurt without knowing so. Understand that we are human, flawed, deserving of forgiveness, then will it, choose it. Make the choice to say, I forgive you, even if in robotic tone. Extend a mechanical handshake, words first, feelings following. Evoke feelings through asking. Ask that which is greater. Be filled with forgiveness in time. Ask for it again, again, again. Infinitely will forgiveness be granted. Okay, poem 2. Robin on the high wire tells us there is much to do. The rising of the golden arches depends on the giving of our bodies, not the forsaking, the giving. The giving, we say, how honorable, we think, hunched against church walls, squirrels toppled over, tongues bitter, absent of sweet faith. When did we give over our bodies, our minds? Deterred from writing, Baroque music, plucking the Spanish guitar, savoring white magnolias. Remember, the clock is full. Let's watch joy quiver. Let's unpin ourselves. Poem 3. I am here, stretched beyond aching muscles. Do you see me? Have I toiled enough, deemed worthy of your guidance? Have I prayed with enough fervor to know you, to convey messages worthy of traveling through bloodlines, through deaths of many matriarchs? Tell me how to sever the roar of black engines, of what disturbs divinity, creativity. Guide me. I will follow you seamlessly, like jellyfish gliding through Pacific waters. When I encounter darkness on verge of splintering, I will seek you with mountain gaze, unfaltering like patient stars, devotion unbending. Do you hear me? I am here. Thank you.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much, Sharon. Please welcome now Margaret Lonsdale. Welcome, Margaret. Put my cup down there with the dog dish.
Hi, I'm Margaret. Thank you, Kyeren, for so very many things. And thank all of you for your continued support of the arts in general and for poetry specifically. My offering. If I were a house, I would learn to speak your language. That would be me who would answer when you sit late evenings, talking low to whoever it is you imagine sits with you near your firelight. We would laugh together about stories you tell me, things you'd remember from your days long past. I'd ask the wind to be gentle, keep the rain from sneaking in, leave a wish for the moon to discover with her shine. I'd be mute in others' company, offer comfort after they'd all gone. I'd be a presence you could count on, someone you'd always know. If I were a house, I would know when you need me. I'd hear you calling out when you're afraid. You'd know I'm always there. We could become familiar, like friends. But I am no house, am I? And for now, you're still out looking at the sky. I'm a fan of brevity, therefore, letter to Bob. Dear Bob Dylan, thank you for not dying young, so we don't have to imagine what it is you might have done. And lastly, I'd like to offer a blessing, though I'm woefully unqualified to extend such things, but I'm going to do it anyway. This is Wood Song Blessing. In a field with the wind in my hair, I can feel the ones who are there. And the rhythm of a heartbeat inside lets me know where the masters reside. May you run with the wind in your hair. May you feel the warm sun on your back. May you dance to the beat of a drum. May you ride with Mother Nature at your side. In clear waters with the waves on my skin, I can feel purified from within. And the bird song that sings me to sleep is the sweet sound I want to keep. May you wash in clear waters from the well. May you rise to meet your full potential. May you dream the dream you always dreamed of. May your life be bountiful, peace and love. Like a flower you open in spring. When you hear the music, you sing. If opportunity should knock at your door, you are ready with the answer for sure. May you wake from your slumber refreshed. May you know pleasures more than the flesh. May you stand up grateful to be given this life, and may you live it completely without pain or strife. Namaste. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you. Next, please welcome Sheila Martindale. Welcome, Sheila.
Thanks, Karen, and thanks for the hard work on the program. It's lovely. This latest book of mine is a book of remembrances. This one is for my grandmother. Grandmother, grim old lady who lived by thou shalt not, you left me scattered oddments of memory and this ring. Did you wear it and I don't remember? Or was it from your early life, kept in a drawer after your fingers became gnarled and arthritic as mine are now? If it did adorn those hands, teaching me to sew and knit, the image has vanished from my mind, and I must confess my stitches never did become as neat as yours, nor have I trod your rigid, narrow path, but danced to many tunes. Grandmother, it's a long time since we spent Sunday penances on needlecraft, but sometimes I feel closer to you than we were then, me a child, and you already old, as if this ring has linked my life to yours when you were young, before youth's hopes and promises grew cold. And I wonder if you ever stepped through the dimensions of time and distance, the barriers of mortality, and see my footprints festooned across 2 continents, and sigh again over my loopy threads, frayed edges, ragged ends. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheila. It's beautiful to hear your work. Next, please welcome Rhona McAdam. Welcome, Rhona.
Hello, everybody. Look at us all. This is great. Yeah, and I wanted to just, although, you know, much is due to the volunteers over the years, I wanted to also just thank all the ADs we've had. So Kyeren and Zoe, of course, and Daniel and Yvonne, and our founding queen bee, Wendy Morton. who's not here tonight, but you've all kept things humming over the years, and I thought I should read a bee poem. Now, we are actually a hive, not a group of solitary bees, so the metaphor doesn't quite hold because this is about wild bees. But I think some of the things that we do are similar. Wild bees. We multitude, sun blossomed on leaves or dark spotting petal pistil stamen, knowing each flower's golden mean, sweet comfort there for our young, priming our baskets with pollen, a day's work and a day's work and a day more, all this purpose. The weeds, the woods, the garden, those single destinations never mix this with that, one source in its many places. We fly, we crawl, we gather, and again, our futures waiting to be lardered. So many homes we have, our dark places combed and tunneled, crumbed with our comings and goings, the neatness of our labors, eggs entombed with food for an afterlife we will not witness. Our one season, this duty.
Thank you, Rhona. It's very apt. And just keep time. We're going to squeeze one more poet in this half. Please welcome Nicole Moen.
Yes. Short. Quinnisquanunga Hela, enchanté de vous voir. So good to see you all online. Can't see you, but good to see you here in the room. Thank you, Kyeren. And thank you everyone for joining us, and to the Kwangin. The three poems I'm going to read tonight are foundational poems for an upcoming book called Human Being Water. And I'll read them straight through. The first one has an epigraph and by Cynthia Bourgeot, and that is, we are all pouring from one fullness to another. Human being water. A mayfly may fly, but she also skates the surface of this lake, glides the tension between water and air, grips molecules of uncertainty with short-lived grace and special leg hairs. This tiny winged being, connective tissue, holding the world together. Mayfly is nigh 80% water, water being mayfly. When she dies, her watery essence continues as drop of the cosmic wholeness flowing from one fullness to a new fullness. Into what now will that water that was mayfly slip? A blade of lake grass, a cliff swallow, a stinky mink, you? We are all emptying from one fullness to another fullness. You are near 60% water, human being water. Into what will you pour? Water being human. Water holed up in a puddle on a road in the middle of town, nowhere to drain, release. A drop of motor oil slicks silvered spectrums on water's surface, waiting for the storm to uplift with one sweep into its fury, waiting for the street dog to filch and drink over to the trees, waiting for the sun to liberate in breath into the firmament. Being human water. See that pond there, unwrinkled, reflecting its brushes. Now in the pond, a boot bob splashes up, buoyed by the oxygen, overload of decay bends reflections. A being, human, gauntleted, grabs, chucks the boot into the rubbish heap to burn with the rest. Ash reintegrates with soil and the pond leaches slowly, surely, oozing between, says soil to water. I'll wash your back if you wash mine. They scrub, exchange wholesome bounty and toxins. Water flows now, sparkling, rushing over moss, stones, a greasy road, trickling, collected, piped, drunk, to build a being, human water. See that pond there?
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was a fabulous ending to our first half. And we're going to take our collection basket around. If you have $5 or $10 or $1 or nothing, it doesn't matter. Whatever you can, or just your presence, we're happy you're here. And we're also going to do a little draw of books for our hold on to your tickets. We'll come back from the break, and please check out the book tables. There are books from a lot of the poets here. Our poets are like award-winning, published, exciting, emerging creatures. So enjoy. Thank you. So let me welcome, first up is Susan Olding, who donated 2 of the books to this raffle. Thank you, Susan. Welcome, Susan. Thank you, Kyeren, and thank you everyone for being here. Margaret's short poem made me think of one of my own. I wasn't going to read it, but here it is. It's called Pair Bond. Romeo and Juliet, end stopped couplet. Okay, this one is called Ice Storm. My mother called in February. It had stormed the night before. Each branch of every tree wore a hard coat of ice, and when the wind blew, the branches clattered. I paced our living room all the time my mother talked, peering through the windows' frost-encrusted panes, thinking about the big ice storm of 1998, when the city's wires galloped and snapped, and for days we lost our heat, our light, our power. That winter, so many aging maples fell, groaning as their trunks split wide. And after the winds diminished and we dared to step outside, we saw that even the trees that stood broken. Their heartwood bared, their crowns detached, with rugged lacerations where their limbs had been cut off. I paced the room as my mother talked, her voice coiled tight, coming in bleak bursts and twisted syllables. It was difficult to hear her. The wind howled, and the wind rattled the branches, and the branches struck the roof, and the line kept cutting out. So I kept moving, kept pacing, kept repositioning myself in the hope of better reception. And when she told me my father was done with me, that I was not welcome in their home, that he didn't want to see me or my husband or my daughter, and from now on, he would not let her talk to me, not in person, not even on the telephone. I kept saying, I'm sorry. There's been a storm. I'm having trouble hearing. And I couldn't tell if the silence was my mother thinking, or if the line was dead. Powerful way to start. Thank you so much, Susan. Gorgeous. Next up, please welcome Sandy O'Reilly.
What a great crowd. I learned a new word this past month, kleptoparasitic.
from a workshop with Carla Funk. It refers to the fact that eagles will hover high above watching other birds. And when the other birds snatch their prey, the eagles will dive down and steal it right away from them. So I call this kleptoparasitic. We live kleptoparasitic lives. Jacques Cousteau stole swimming from the fish. The Wright brothers stole airplanes from the birds. They stole bombs from atoms. Colonial power stole North America, most of South America and Central America, great swaths of Africa and Australia from indigenous people. We stole lasers and cell phones from Star Trek. We stole painting from cavemen and colors from the rainbow. We stole rain, we stole tears from the rain and breathing from whales. We've stolen thousands of Michael Dunahys. We stole operas from nightingales and dancing from daisies. We stole laughter from loons and horns from honking geese. We stole trumpets from elephants. We stole gold from the sun, silver from the moon, and diamonds from the flash of sunlight on snow. We've stolen almost everything that there is, and we just keep on stealing things. We steal scenes, we steal the show, we still scoop each other's stories in newsrooms. We steal bases, we steal signs, we steal one for the team. We set up the internet and it's stolen our critical thinking. Social media has stolen our accountability. Corruption has stolen our trust, and talking head politicians have stolen our faith in one another. We steal money, food, design, haircuts, clothing, scientific studies, paper, pens, paper clips whenever we find it. We steal husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends and lovers and love wherever we think we can get it. And we just keep coming back for more. We are thieves of the highest order. We pickpocket, we dine and dash, we cheat on our taxes, we launder money, and we scam indiscriminately family, friends, colleagues, and strangers on the bus. We steal anything we can get our hands on. We are kleptomaniacs. We would steal snot off of somebody's nose if we could get it without thinking. Our lives are about stealing. Thievery is the thing we do best, and it starts very early on. We steal calcium from our mothers in the womb. We are born hungry and greedy for this life. And if we spend just a few moments standing in this world, sometimes the bright blue is so sharp that it pierces us and lays us open to the theft of everything we have. And we let it happen. After all, we can steal more. We don't really mind. The only things that we are left with are the pain of our own tears and the joy in our hearts of being alive. This is the only reality show in town, and we are survivors.
Sandy, thank you so much. Your memory always amazes me, as does your poetry. Barbara Pellman sadly can't be here tonight, but she is on Zoom. I wish you could turn it around and she could read to you. Please check out her book, so she has a recent one out. So next up, I want to welcome Catherine St. Denis. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Kyeren, and hi, Barbara. I think the hardest part of writing is choosing what to read at the poetry reading. So Andrea Scott is going to read in a couple of people from now, and she has a brilliant chapbook out, and I was honored to be a part of the launch of her chapbook. And I don't have a book, so I sold postcard poems where people came and told me either an idea or a word, and I wrote a poem for them and sent it to them on a postcard in the mail. So I've decided to read you, they're short because they had to fit on postcards, decided to read you 3 of those. And I'll tell you the prompts for them. The first prompt was fava beans. And I thought to myself, what better pairing with fava beans than heartbreak. After the breakup, you walk down to the water. The beach is a curved bone, slate ocean. For days, the sky has capitulated to gray, early fogs that have you pawing too soon through the sweater drawer. In the park, you watch autumn heave itself out of summer like a swimmer from a pool, sigh out a lungful of lushness and heat. Soon you will dig your fingers into cold earth and plant fava beans, sowing something that needs a little rest before the growing, hoping they will deliver the first delight to bloom on your tongue when the summer comes. The second prompt was regret, and I was writing these poems as Banff was burning. After another town burns, ashes carpet the parade route, paint bubbles from street signs. Here, time is split like a peach, the before, the after. It doesn't matter. Beauty, queens, or garbage collectors, we are all zipped to the rim of regret. We picked the wrong shade of lipstick, missed our chance at the scratch-off win. History descends like antlers shed into a lake, all the fight and glory sunk. Yet despite our best efforts, nature carries on. Seeds continue to spin through the wind. Frogs and crickets still teach us their songs. Vagabonds of the future, we can still pop our collars, but this time, maybe lean into the music. Admit that we were wrong. And the last prompt was inside, outside. This one is called All Birds Hide in Invisible Places. Between floors, the elevator hiccups to a halt. Inside, you curl your fingers into fists, gulp shallow breaths, feel the red finch of your heart go wild inside its rib cage. How absurd that each day we happily slip ourselves inside the vessels of cars, hoodies, rooms, relationships, but lose our composure the minute we are unexpectedly contained. Outside, the world wears its own atmosphere like a bell diver's helmet. Restraint is an illusion. You may be trapped, but you are also still flying through space. The elevator door slides open. A murmuration of starlings escapes. Thank you.
So gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Next, please welcome Clare Sharpe. Here's Clare. Welcome, Clare.
Here we are. Right, so. In expiation for being a person who chronically overruns, and Kyeren has so much tolerance for that, I've decided to be mercifully brief. And because you're all lovely people too, you deserve a break. So, and I don't know, do we need to? cut my head off. No, do we need to?
Oh, right, you want me to mute? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, so much live stream you don't get to hear.
I'll
those
explain this
poems.
in the vain hope that I was like,
Bless you, Rhona, otherwise you wouldn't have had sound for the rest of the show. To say that we're missing Torsten. Torsten Schoenberg is overseeing an exam tonight at UVic, so we miss his poetry. And his book is Healed for Sale of, so come and check it out. And so now we're going to welcome Christine Schrum. Christine, welcome.
Thank you, Kyeren. Thank you, everybody. Just pull this up. Just going to read one poem. It's about being a young, aspiring poet. I am now a 50-year-old aspiring poet. Young at heart. And I wrote this in a workshop with Barbara Pellman. It is called Whatever Became of the Blue Light Poets. One of us was going to be famous, I was pretty sure. Probably me. At sundown, we descended like bats on the squat little house with the bare blue light bulb. Poetry Central, read the sign on the door. Diane Frank and her ragtag rat pack of jagged tooth acolytes, clutching our journals, our Sharon Olds, our Bukowski, our Rimbaud. Everyone was sleeping together, or maybe it was just me. Jimmy, the slack-jaw sunfish, small-town rock star in Converse high tops, lowbrow lyrics. Matt, the apple-cheeked Canadian whose mother loved Gordon Lightfoot and hated me. Diane hailed from San Francisco, a real city, unlike this empty, echoing train track of an Iowa small town. Blue-black milk snake in the quarry where we skinny dipped at midnight. Caribbean blue by day, thanks to pesticide runoff. The poem is your universe, said Diane, wizardess of words, mentored by Stephen Dunn, a real poet. She who read in city lights like Ferlinghetti, she who played cello and line danced in her 50s in leopard print dresses. She who wrote poems about lovers, about the Jersey cows licking her fingers in alfalfa fields. We all drank too much yogi tea. There was a cheeky Picasso in her bathroom. We were all going somewhere. Apple-cheeked Matt wrote a poem about a girl who bathed naked in the rusty water tower. David, the drummer, wrote exclusively about zero-gravity funk libido. I wrote my way free from my mother like a lonely, empty boxcar headed straight out of town, clickety-clickety-clack, and I never looked back. None of us ever became anything except more of ourselves. Poetry's greatest gift, perhaps. Diane lighting our way with a bare blue light bulb hanging at the door of a squat little house in Nowheresville, Iowa. Thank you.
Hi, Christine. Thank you. And next week, we've got only 3 more poets. How did that go so fast? Andrea Scott, please welcome her.
That looks great, thank you. Thank you, Kyeren. Thank you, Planet Earth people here and on Zoom. Love this community, and I can't come every Friday, but I look forward to every Friday with the hope that I can usually come. There was a fire alarm at my school today, so I don't know if you heard about that. A couple people heard about that. So those of us who worked there or studied there stood out in the cold for about 2 hours, and it was chilly. Anyway, nothing horrible happened, but the kids were mostly upset, like when were they going to be reunited with their cell phones? So that was maybe the most stressful part. So it was pretty cold. I did love the snow earlier in the week, but with all due respect to winter, I'm turning my mind to spring. And there have been a couple garden poems and some references to the pollinators, so I'll just kind of riff on that here. This is a glosa with lines borrowed from PK page. Prepping the beds. What a garden I tumble into, what a froth and buzz of blossoms, sun hot and glazing leather leaf. PK page, a bagatelle. A mess grew here while love sat still, a quiet, hungry drum. Call these plants suckers, invasives, weeds, whatever. I call them volunteers, placeholders for what comes next. Forget gloves. I sift bare-fingered through dirt, tease couch grass rhizomes out from the feet of strawberry runners. So long, morning glory, ivy, feverfew, and what a garden I stumble into. What space and light where all was dark, a tangle of green on darker green. I make room for garlic to rise, for rhubarb to unfurl its fat, rain-catching hands, for the woolly bear to parade in plain sight. It will sample all things and then still itself to build a pale moth body. I'll give it something to flap about upon emergence, soft surprises in the hard landscaping, lacy cabbage, curled parsley, frilly growth in bunches, in rows, and what a froth of color will come of these seed packs, tamborining in my pockets, better expired than never. Some I broadcast wide, The rest I sew on one knee, pushing in extras to tempt the pollinators, bombus and hummers, swallowtails. I'll offer nectar where last year there was none, only parched blooms, bleached leaves. This year I promise upright goldenrod, bergamot, currant. I'll feast on berries and borage, lie back in the thrum, the great burst and buzz of blossoms. In the pause between seed and flower and fruit, I have to trust that something will open up in this garden. It has to be loved this time, as if it's the only meal on offer. It has to be sung into growing with the wobbly belief of a child watching for fairies in forget-me-nots. I'll sing it into longer days, bang out a rhythm until heat and light make grief lift, sun hot and glazing leather leaf. Thank you.
So gorgeous. Thank you, Andrea. Amazing. Okay, now we have one of our previous artistic directors, Daniel Scott. Here he is.
What a wonderful feast we're having this evening. I've got a whole series of little short pieces. I'm going to begin with the tanka. Is a Japanese form which is a haiku and 2 additional 7-syllable lines. And these days haikus aren't exactly 575, it's too difficult. In the morning light, a day begins in wonder, though shadows linger from yesterday's eruptions, cold volcanoes of my heart. And a second tanka. Thanksgiving dinner, kin huddled around a table. One chair stands silent, absorbs the few words spoken, a thick cloud of memory. This is the first poem I've written about our new house looking out the window at the harbor beyond. It's called Light on the Water. Wind has ruffled your skin. The harbor glistens. Each ripple dances, plays light into silver sparkles. The sun is drawing down to the tree-spiked horizon. No clouds. A durable luster. Air and water complement each other. Multiply brightness. I shield my eyes, soak up heat. As the day wanes, the sun softens its silver shimmer, slides below the horizon and offers a golden wash to the walls and trees, kisses the day goodbye and a last burst of warmth. Another tanka. Water-kissed hull slides across gentle swells. The orca calf dies. The hard steel thumps a tail fluke. Propeller draws blood. And then another Japanese form that I've come to be like a lot of renge, which is like a call response thing. 3 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines. This one's on senses. The dog laps water, tongue slaps the bowl, collar clinks the rim. A season turns, fall chill swaddles the morning. The forest stream splits around a stone mound, clear-voiced gurgles. Coffee scent drifts up the spiral stair. Night ends slowly, darkness hanging on, not wanting to surrender. A train whistle chords near the crossing. And then, how helpless I am before lostness. It is October. The wind is raining leaves. Dead yellowed pine needles cascading against the glass. A reminder of change. How death comes, slow or sudden. How my mind can drift away blanketed. the body shell stumbling through days. And I will end with the last Tonka, which is a memory poem of a dear poet friend who died. And this was a group of us gathered to think about him. A poet's circle weeps and laughs in concert. Our memories full, his presence a fine red wine inebriating our souls. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It was amazing. You filled so many in. It was gorgeous. Thank you. Our very final poet of this evening is Nancy Yakimoski. Welcome, Nancy.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. Happy birthday to my sister from Regina. She's tuning in tonight. So I'm the person, so a little plug. So I'm the person who is responsible for the Poetry Lending Library, which is less like a library and a kind of a free-for-all. So, we're always looking for donations. So if you have books you're culling, poetry books, please get in contact with me. Yeah, and I'm going to read one poem tonight, and it's called 10 1000s. The speech-language pathologist sits across from him at the small table. She asks about his day, and he answers with yes, no, or other single words. She deviates and asks a question that requires more. His body stiffens with this new demand, 1 1000. His smile disappears, 2 1000. She leans forward, smiling, hands on the table, says nothing, 3 1000. He fidgets, looks down at the table, 4 1000. He looks at me, 5 1000. He looks at her, I fidget, look at her, look at him, 6 1000. Did he understand the question? Should she repeat it? She should rephrase it, 7 1000. Should I repeat the question? Should I restate it in fewer words? Should I step in now? 8 1000. He hangs his head, hands in his lap, my heart in my stomach. Rescue him. 9 1000. She's not even trying to help. Help him, please. He suddenly raises his head and answers in a full sentence. She nods, then asks him to set up the board game. She pivots towards me to make a suggestion for his upcoming IEP. His teachers and EA should count to 10 after asking him a question. He needs time to listen, process, formulate a response, and then reply. This will avoid what I call question piling because they think he doesn't understand. She adds knowingly, 10 seconds can be a long time, eh? Thank you.